Hello and welcome to the Retirement Planning Podcast, your trusted source for navigating the path to a secure retirement. Your host and guide on this journey towards financial peace of mind is Darrin McComas. On this show, we'll delve into everything you need to know about retirement planning, from investment strategies and risk management to maximizing your Social Security benefits and crafting a resilient financial plan using the bucket plan financial process. Join me as we bring you insights from top financial experts, share stories of successful retirement journeys, and provide practical tips to help you build and preserve your wealth. Let's embark on this adventure together as we strive towards a future where retirement isn't just a dream, but a well-planned reality.
All right, welcome everyone to the Retirement Planning Podcast. I'm Darrin McComas.
And I'm Jason Fox.
Hey, we have a special guest today. We have Tom Hegna on our podcast today, joining us from Arizona. Tom is a best-selling author. He's also a host of a show on CNBC, as well as a world-renowned speaker in our industry. And Tom, we're so excited to have you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You bet, man. Our pleasure. Well, Tom, kind of walk us through what you see as the biggest misconception that people have heading off into retirement today.
I think there's a couple. I mean, first of all, there's a lot of people who think they can do it themselves, and I really think that's very difficult. I think they're going to have a lot of blind spots in their plan. And then a lot of people think it's all about a number. I need $1 million, I need $2 million, I need $5 million. And that's really not what retirement's about. Retirement's not about a number. It's not about the stock market, and it's not about real estate. What it is about is having increasing income for the rest of your life and then managing the various risks in retirement. What happens if the stock market goes down and stays down for 15 years? It was down for 30 years in Japan. It was down for 20 years in Europe. We had a lost decade here just since the year 2000. And I mean, would that ruin somebody's retirement? What if you need long-term care? What happens to your family if you die? What happens if they double or triple taxes because we're in debt so much and we got a big debt crisis and we're paying all this, so you really got to manage risks in retirement because you don't have a chance to go out and do it again. Like if you lose a bunch of money in retirement, you're really hurting yourself. And so you want to, and the thing is, I am 70% retired. So I'm not just talking the talk, I'm walking the walk. And what I've learned about retirement, it's all about spending money every day. It's every day Saturday. So it's about spending money. And so you want to have that income and you want to have increasing income to, combat inflation. So I think those are kind of some of the misconceptions people think around retirement.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would echo those same concerns when we're talking with our clients and people that we're meeting with for the first time. I use your line, every day in retirement is Saturday. Can you kind of expand on that for our listeners?
Yeah. I always ask people, what day of the week do you spend the most money? What day of the week you go golf and you go to Home Depot, get your nails done, get your hair done? For most people, that day is Saturday. Well, the day you retire, every day is Saturday. And so you're going to tend to go to the store more. You're going to tend to go and do entertainment more. And so actually, the first maybe 5 or 10 years in retirement, you may actually spend more, not less, than when you were working, because now it's all free time and you've got to do something with that free time. And a lot of times that costs money to do something with the free time.
Yeah, I think that's so true. We when we do a lot of our financial planning, we do the go-go years,
Right.
kind of front load their first 10, 15 years in retirement with more cash flow simply because of that. Every day is a Saturday and they're younger, they're healthier, they're more active. They want to go do things, kind of make up for lost time for working for the last 35, 40 years, putting these bucket list items on hold until they retire. So I wholeheartedly agree with you, just from personal experience dealing with our clients. And it is so true. And now that we have, since COVID, we're really dealing with inflation for the first time in a long time. And that is definitely causing clients to dip into their retirement accounts and pull out more. So we know that you're hosting a brand new show on CNBC called Financial Freedom with Tom Hegna. What are some of the major insights you've gained from interviewing the special guests that you've had on your show? Some new insights, new thinking?
I've really had some incredible guests. I mean, that's what I've been so impressed with is the content that we've created. And what I'm trying to do is bring Main Street to Wall Street, because everything on CNBC is Wall Street, Wall Street, Wall Street, and I'm trying to bring Main Street, and I've had just some incredible guests from Main Street. You know, Jim Silvernagle up in Wisconsin, Curtis Cloak up in Iowa. I had Joe Jordan on. I had, I've had so many people, but a couple of them that have really stuck out to me, because a lot of them are just on retirement, and some of them are very similar. But I had one guy on. He was an attorney down in Miami, and he does offshore trusts in the Cook Islands, and he's probably done as many as anybody else in the whole country. And I found it just fascinating. And I was asking him all kinds of questions, about asset protection, because there's really three phases of wealth. Building wealth is phase one, and then protecting wealth is phase two, and then distributing wealth is phase three. So this was kind of phase two, protecting wealth. And I even asked him about prenups, because I said, we were talking about Bill Belichick and his young girlfriend or whatever. I said, well, he'd have to have a prenup to protect his stuff. And he goes, oh, I don't like prenups. They get broken in. They get broken by legal teams all the time. He said the spouse never wants to sign it. He said it's way better, before you get married, move some money into an offshore trust, and then you don't own it, and then there's no problem. And so I just found that one fascinating. Another one, I had a guy from Raymond James in Toronto, and he worked cross-border. So he worked with Canadians who are moving to America, or Americans who are moving to Canada, or if you're married to a Canadian or married to an American, because the rules are different. We have 401ks, we have Social Security, they have RRSPs, they have CAS or OAS and CPP. So yeah, I thought that one was fascinating. So I've really had some really neat, I had a former Miss America on there, and she was awesome. So I've had some really exciting guests. And one of the other things I'm trying to do with this TV show is kind of almost embarrass the insurance industry, because they should be sponsoring something like this. CNBC should be calling me, and they should be calling David McKnight, and they should be calling you guys, and we should be interviewed, but they don't. And so I'm kind of doing this just to show that we have great content in the insurance side of the world.
Absolutely. I think it's really interesting you bring up the Cook Island stuff. I've looked into that, and the amount of protection there is really quite fascinating. What's, having to, if you do want to kind of dip into going after somebody's assets, you actually have to go to the Cook Islands in order to pursue that and go through their system. And it's really quite fascinating in that regard.
And it's a tight timeline. And so the assets are very much protected over there. And, but it's not cheap either. It costs some money to do it. And so, but you got to weigh it out, because we're in such a lawsuit friendly society that everybody sues for everything. And, you don't want to work your whole life, build a business, and then have somebody sue it away from you. But I will also say this about that. Another asset protection, life insurance and annuities are creditor protected in many states. So you can Google life insurance, annuities, creditor protection in your state, and it'll tell you what the rules are. I'm in Arizona. 100% of the money that I have in life insurance and annuities is creditor protected. They can't ever sue it away. And so I've moved most of my personal wealth to cash value life insurance. I own 13 annuities. And so I'm very well protected against lawsuits and things like that.
Right. Certainly a much easier option than going to the Cook Islands, right?
Yeah, and a little more affordable too. But
yes.
I've thought about it, because we have some real estate, and I use LLCs. But here's what I learned in that thing: an LLC will protect you. Like if I have this house in an LLC, so if somebody fell and broke their leg and then they sued me, they can't sue me personally. They have to sue the LLC. But if somebody sued me for, I ran over, 5 people in an intersection or something, and I got sued, then the house that LLC can be broken. And so I didn't know all the levels of protection. And that's why I think it's so important that people can't do it themselves. I know this stuff inside and out, and I don't know stuff like that. And so that's why I think it's so critical that people work with a financial professional.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for bringing Main Street to CNBC, because I think that is, you turn on CNBC and it's just Wall Street, Wall Street, Wall Street. So kudos to you on that. Give us a little information. When can people watch your show on CNBC?
We're typically on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern. Okay. It can change from time to time, but that's been where it's been the last couple months.
Shifting gears here a little bit, in looking at Main Street, obviously they tend to talk about 60-40 portfolios and kind of more traditional investment models in retirement. Talk to us a little bit about kind of the inherent limitations of that.
Well, first of all, I do all my recommendations based in math and science and research. I don't do it on people's opinions. And, many stockbrokers have the opinion that a 60-40 portfolio will get you through retirement. I don't know of a single PhD, and I've researched this for decades. I don't know of a single PhD who says, yeah, put your money in a diversified portfolio and make withdrawals. That is the most inefficient way to retire. And you're probably going to, well, you're for sure going to live a suboptimal retirement. That's less than what otherwise could or should be. I wrote an article in 2016. I said the 60-40 portfolio is dead, long-lived life insurance and annuities. And at the time, if you remember, bonds were paying 1%. And I said it makes no sense at all to have 40% of your money sitting in a bond earning 1% that when interest rates go up, we don't know when they will, but we know when interest rates go up, the value of bonds goes down. So you've got 40% of your portfolio only earning 1% to the upside, and it's got 20, 30, 40% risk to the downside. I said, that's crazy. I said, just simply move that bond portfolio either to cash value life insurance or an annuity. You're going to get a better than bond like return. In fact, let me read a couple things to you, because I always say to all the annuity non-believers out there, I can't change their mind. A man convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. But what I can do is put some research in front of them so they might want to change their own mind. Now, BlackRock doesn't sell any annuities. They don't sell a single annuity. They got $9 trillion in the stock market. They got more money in the market than Vanguard, more money in the market than Fidelity. But they got a lot of smart people. And here's what they say. Adding guaranteed lifetime income combined with a more aggressive asset allocation results in a 29% higher after-tax rate of income and lowers downside risk by 33%. On top of that, delaying retirement and claiming Social Security benefits from 65 to 67 boosts total annual spending another 16% and reduces downside risk by an additional 15%. Barclays says fixed indexed annuities outperform bonds. The Wall Street Journal, the case for moving some bonds to annuities. Dr. Roger Ibbotson, a PhD, did an entire white paper. You can Google it, you can find it, where he compared fixed index annuities against bonds. And he found that fixed index annuities have outperformed bonds for the last 40 years and are likely to do so for the next 40 years. So if people would just move their bonds over into an annuity, they're going to have better performance. And it's a fact. It's not an opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think 2022 was a great awakening when both the 60-40, both sides of the 60-40 were getting hammered, the equity side and the bond side as interest rates spiked.
It was the worst year ever for the 60-40 portfolio, and I predicted it 6 years earlier. I mean, it was obvious to me, and so that's why I don't sell annuities. I own 13 of them. I buy them. All right, my life insurance premium. I just finished a 12-pay life, $226,000 a year, but all that money's still in there, and it's growing, and dividends are being added, and so I mean, it's and I can flip on that switch whenever I want to get tax-free income. And what I'm trying to do is position my retirement to get as much tax-free income as possible. Most of my annuities are in Roth IRAs, so that's tax-free income for the rest of my life. And so I would encourage, your listeners and your viewers to try to position their portfolios as much to give them as much tax-free income in retirement as possible.
That's a great segue, because that was the next question on our list here is really, what are some key considerations as people head into retirement for minimizing taxes, especially we're seeing a very few number of pensions anymore. A lot of people have the bulk of their wealth sitting in a pre-tax 401k kind of account. What are some, tax considerations, things they should do to minimize their taxes?
Yeah, I was playing golf. I'm a golfer. I was playing golf a few weeks ago with a guy who said, Tom, my IRA just went over $1 million. I said, oh, that is great. I said, but how much of that is yours? And he looked at me like, what do you mean? It's all mine. And I said, no. IRAs and 401ks, that's not your money. You are a partner. You're the limited partner. The government's the general partner. So they get to take their cut first, and then you get whatever's left over. Right now, they're taking 38, 39%. But what happens if it goes back to where it was in the 50s and goes up to the 70 or 90% tax rate? What then? And so I have converted all of my IRA and 401k money to Roth. Okay. And now I took the big hit. It was a big hit. I had to pay tax up front. And that's the reason a lot of people don't convert is because they don't want to pay the tax. But I know the tax that I paid now is going to be far, far, far less than the tax that I or my family would have paid in the future. And so I took that hit and I converted to Roth. That's one way to do it. I've also, as I said, moved more of my personal wealth to cash value life insurance. Ed Slott, he's a CPA, doesn't sell any life insurance. And he says that life insurance has the best tax code in the whole tax code. There's nothing in the tax code that gives you better tax advantages than cash value life insurance. And so if people would just study this stuff, they could really figure it out that you can have an incredible lifestyle by combining some insurance products with investment products. I'm not anti-investment. I got a Schwab account. I even have some crypto. We can talk about that if you want. But I got most of my money in very safe, guaranteed places, and then that allows me to actually take a little more risk with some of my other money if I want to.
Yeah, I think being well diversified, right?
Absolutely.
Not all your eggs in one basket.
But diversification also means across products that you don't have it all just in the stock market and the bond market. I like some real estate. I have some real estate, but I say don't put it all in real estate. You find some people and all they do is real estate. Oh, I'm going to buy another one. I'm going to buy another one. And I can tell you, I've seen the whole cycle. When you're in your 30s and 40s, real estate is sexy. Oh man, I'm getting this money and I can fix everything. I can do it. I'm a handyman. Wait till you're in your 80s.
Yep.
You talk to somebody in their 80s who has 15 rental properties and see how happy they are. They're not happy. It's like a ball and chain around their neck. These are now tax bombs. They've taken all the tax depreciation. That one needs a new roof. That one needs 2 air conditioners. That one needs a remodel of the kitchen. And now it's painful. And I've seen it from the 30 and 40-year-olds that love real estate, I'm going to get rich, to the 80-year-olds who are miserable. And then people say, well, I'll get a property management company. Yeah, who does a property manager company take advantage of? This 85-year-old who can't remember what they had for breakfast that morning, And so I'm all for real estate in a portion, right? And annuities in a portion. Okay, so here's another one. Ernst & Young. They're an accounting firm, one of the top accounting firms in the world. They don't sell any life insurance or annuities, but they got a lot of smart people and they put AI together and they came out with a white paper. You can Google it. You can find it. Google Ernst & Young, life insurance annuities, and their perfect retirement portfolio, they said, would be 30% income annuity, 30% cash value life insurance, 40% investments. I'm not making that up. And if you looked at my personal retirement plan, it would be very close to those numbers.
That's awesome. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say we've covered a lot of ground here, and as we know, that can oftentimes be overwhelming. We talked about how we don't even know everything, right? There's so much out there, and there's so much material. Despite the fact that we're financial professionals, there's more out there to know than we are aware of, and that's obviously very overwhelming for the individual who's facing retirement. So what would what would be your recommendation to somebody who's kind of facing that, kind of one actionable piece of advice?
Well, I think you got to work with a financial professional. I think you got to have a plan and have them work a plan. And most financial advisors now, they can say, here's what you're doing, and they can put it on a computer and run it out. Here's what your retirement looks if you keep going down your path. But if we just made a couple changes here, you could have a much, much better retirement. And I think people who go through that process it's going to become apparent to them what the obvious solutions are, because the numbers don't lie. And again, this is math and science. I'm not making it up. The accountants aren't making it up. BlackRock's not making it up. It's just the math and science of it. And there is an optimal way. And that's what I write about. And that's what I speak about, and I've studied retirement now for over 30 years in depth and spoken all over the world on it. And I've met some of the most smart people in the retirement area. And what happens is everybody comes to the same point. And when everybody comes to the same point with the same agreement, with the same optimal way to do it, that's based in math and science. It just doesn't happen that people from all over the world come to the exact same conclusion, because the sky is blue and the grass is green, and you can't say that it's not. And that's the same in retirement.
Yeah. That's great. You often say that longevity is one of the biggest risks for today's retirees. Can you give us a little more in-depth?
Yeah, so I mean, we all want to live a long life, right? But longevity is not just a risk; it's a risk multiplier of all the other risks. Because the longer you live, the more likely the market will crash. The longer you live, the more likely you'll take up too much money. The longer you live, the more likely you'll see inflation. The more likely they'll raise your taxes. The more likely you're going to need long-term care. And so, with the PhDs who study retirement, and they're unanimous in this, that to retire optimally, you must take longevity risk off the table. Well, guess what? Stocks can't do that. Bonds can't do that. Real estate can't do that. CDs can't do that. Bitcoin cannot do it. Okay, well, what can do it? It's a pretty short list. A lifetime income annuity can do it. A deferred income annuity can do it. Or an income or withdrawal benefit rider from a fixed index, or variable annuity can do it. That's it. What do all those products have in common? One word: annuity. What all the research of the leading PhDs in the world who study retirement says this: to retire optimally, you must put an annuity into that portfolio. Why? Because only an annuity can take longevity risk off the table. Why? Because only a life insurance company can issue an annuity. Why? Because only a life insurance company sells life insurance to be on the other side of that risk. See, the risk to an insurance company when somebody buys a life insurance policy is that they die too soon. They buy $1 million term policy. The next day, bam, they get hit by a bus. The insurance company's out $1 million. The guy died too soon. What's the risk if somebody buys a lifetime income annuity? That they live too long. She's 115 and she won't quit breathing. And every month she's breathing, those checks got to go. Yep. Because the insurance companies on both sides of that risk, they can neutralize mortality and longevity risk to themselves and to all of your clients. And so, again, this is based in math and science. These aren't opinions. You can check out all my research. It's legit.
Yeah, and we're going to definitely post some links in this podcast for those articles you're referring to. And like you said, it's math, it's science, it's not opinion. I tell our clients all the time, we run our plans well out into their 90s, and they're like, oh, I'm not going to live that long. And it's like, well, what if though? What if you do live that long? We want to make sure you don't run out of money. Probably at the time you might need it the most to get some long-term care, as well as if they want to have a legacy, leave a legacy behind.
People are very much underestimating their life expectancy. With this AI and all these nanobots, you're going to get personalized medicine coming soon, where you'll get pills made just for you, not just generic, antibiotic. It'll be one that works in your body better than anything else. And so, and they're going to be able to cure cancer and heart disease and diabetes and all this stuff. And so people are going to be living longer. In fact, Mark Pace does a lot of stuff on longevity. And he said, if you're a 65-year-old couple and you're in good health, like you don't have major chronic problems, you're in fairly good health. Of course, you're 65, so you got a few ailments, but you don't have anything major. The likelihood is one of you is going to live to be 98. And so, and the likelihood is both of you are going to live into your 90s, and one of you could live up to 98 and could even live longer.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. I think another statistic, and something you had alluded to there, Darrin, is that long-term care is a very real part of that longevity. I think the statistic we've heard is that up to 70% of people will experience that in their lifetime. Can you talk to us a little bit about how annuities address that and what your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, so here's what I say about long-term care. No retirement plan is complete without a plan for long-term care. It is the number one thing that most people forget about that can wipe out their entire life's work. Think about it. There's almost nothing else that'll wipe out everything you've ever done, but long-term care can do that. And I say any plan is better than no plan. So, I bought regular long-term care insurance, unlimited benefits. You can't even get the kind that I have. But the thing that people don't like about that is it's use it or lose it. If I stay healthy and I never need it, well, then that money was gone. But it's the same as with your car insurance and your homeowner's insurance. If you don't use it, it's gone. But then there's life insurance that comes with a long-term care rider. Now, what I like about that is it serves three purposes. Number one, it's an emergency fund, right? If you need your money, you can get money out, because most of these policies have money back guarantees or very liquid provisions. Number two, if you don't need it and you die, it goes to your family tax free. But if you do need it, there's this big bucket of money. All right, that's the second way. And the third way is using annuities. And there are annuities that double. There's some annuities that even triple the income if you need long-term care. And there is even one annuity out there that's a guaranteed issue, like somebody could be in a nursing home and still buy it. And so but again, that's why you need to work with a financial professional. Do you think the average person off the street knows all those different things and all the different products that are available? I know this stuff inside and out. I work with 2 or 3 financial advisors, because even though I know what I need, as you know, some annuities are better for men, some are better for women, some are better for older people, some are better for younger people. It's just the way they're priced. And you need an advisor to search through all that to find the very best, combination for you.
That's great. We're going to wrap up here, Tom. Just one last shout out to you. You've just recently written a new book called Don't Worry, Retire Happy. You have a PBS special, right? It's on public television about this. Just give us a quick highlight of the book and what people could expect reading that.
Yeah, so Don't Worry, Retire Happy played in over 80 million homes in the US and Canada on PBS. And it's really seven simple steps to retirement security. So I just lay out 7 things, again, based in math and science, that if you follow these 7 steps, you're going to have a happy and successful retirement. And so, I would encourage, if people have a chance to watch that or watch it via webinar or you get the book, I would encourage them to do it because it's very simple. It's not complicated. But again, the research backs it all up. And I list all the research, and now I've got 10 times more research because I've been doing more presentations, and it's overwhelming. The research that, it just says, just put a portion of your money into guaranteed lifetime income. 20 to 40% is normal for a retirement portfolio. That gives you time to do other investments. You can do other stuff. Like I said, I've even supported 1% into crypto. So I got my mind open. I'm not like a closed-minded person, but you'll be better off if you have that increasing income and you manage risk in retirement. That is really the key, and that's what that book's all about.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that. Just from personal experience with my clients that have put a floor underneath their retirement plan using, of course, Social Security, but a lifetime income annuity. To me, they seem to be much happier, more willing to take on risk with their investment side of their portfolio, and just generally spend their money because they have a floor put under them, and they're not stressed. They're not watching the stock market. Is it green? Is it red today? Oh my gosh, I got to cancel plans. So thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for your work in this area. You're just a treasure trove of wealth and knowledge in this topic. So again, Tom, thank you so much.
Yeah, Darrin and Jason, thank you again for having me.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you for listening to the Retirement Planning Podcast. We hope we inspired you to make changes so you can live your best life. If you want to find out more about what we do, or you want to have a holistic wealth and health financial plan, please visit our website. Please subscribe to the podcast and share it widely with your friends and family. Financial planning and advisory services are offered through Prosperity Capital Advisors. PCA is an SEC registered investment advisor with its principal place of business in the state of Ohio. Evergreen Wealth Advisors and PCA are separate non-affiliated entities. PCA does not provide tax or legal advice. Insurance offered through Evergreen Wealth Advisors are not affiliated with PCA. Information received from this podcast should not be viewed as individual investment advice. Product discussions and illustrations are hypothetical in nature and will vary based on many factors, including but not limited to age, health, product, insurance carrier, and product design. You should consult the insurance carrier website and policy for detailed information pertaining to the registration status of PCA. Please contact the firm or refer to the Investment Advisor Public Discourse website disclosure statement as set forth on Form ADV from PCA using the contact information herein. Please read the discourse statement carefully before you invest or send money.